Now, all right. Good morning, social innovators across Nigeria. Well, welcome to another segment of our national meeting, a seminar, a conference that social innovators all across Nigeria to discuss a timely issue that cuts across the theme, intersectionality between climate change and insecurity in Nigeria. We do know that this is a topic that is timely as it examines how climate change is intensifying insecurity in Nigeria by driving resource scarcity, displacement, and conflict. As changing weather patterns threaten livelihoods and heighten competition over land and water, existing social and security challenges become increasingly complex. This discussion will explore these interconnections and highlight integrated solutions that strengthen both climate resilience and peace-building efforts. Ladies and gentlemen, today we have with us speakers who have earned their mark. Chigozie Bashwa, Dr. Ibechile Julius Uchechukwu, Ambassador Enene Need Fon Okang, Victoria Owadoka Anyanuka, and of course, yours sincerely, your moderator, Oluwabumi Anani. We are welcome and we assure you that you have your value for the time invested into this awesome time together. It's an auspicious moment, and we want to encourage all of us to do this together and make it memorable. Ladies and gentlemen, we hereby declare Catalyst Now, intersectionality between climate change and insecurity in Nigeria, open for discussion and insights.
Welcome to Day 2 of Catalyzing Change Week 2025. The future of our planet depends on choices we make today. That's why today we are focusing on planet well-being and water justice, intergenerational innovation, and the future of our cities and livelihoods. In 2024, the damage bill from climate-related events was $1.4 trillion. The projected economic losses due to climate change by 2025 will be over 12.5 trillion. And over 2 billion people will face life-changing risks from climate change. Innovators are finding new ways to protect ecosystems, respond to urgent crises, and secure safe, sustainable access to the world's most vital resource. Today, you will meet climate innovators, water justice advocates, city planners, livelihood creators, and young leaders, working side by side with experienced voices. This is a space to share solutions, learn from best practices, and imagine how communities can thrive in the face of change. Welcome to the session presented by Catalyst Now.
Welcome all. These are the housekeeping rules. Please keep your videos on if possible. Write your name in the chat and the company you're representing and organization. Unmute only when you're given the chance to speak. And please do enjoy the session. Over to you, Anani, and the entire beautiful team of speakers that we are looking forward to listening to.
All right. Thank you very much for taking the housekeeping rules. And once again, want to welcome everyone who have taken out time to be part of this auspicious and record-making moment. And so this is the time we have been waiting for, and permit me to welcome our speakers. I would like to know if King, please, are you going to screen share the introductions, the video introductions, or should I go ahead to do that? Hello? Is Kim there? Sorry, we're taking the time.
I'm here. I was trying to...
Okay.
What was your question, please?
Yes, the videos that introducing all the speakers. The videos introducing the speakers. Do we have them? Otherwise, let me just quickly...
Please do share.
Okay, fine. All right. Okay. Because of our time, we wouldn't want to take people's time, and so I'll just read it out. Please, I crave our indulgence. Please. Okay, here we go. Permit me to introduce Victoria Owadoka. Victoria Owadoka is a seasoned public relations and sustainability leader with experience spanning the logistics, ICT, and FMCG sectors. With over 2 decades of experience in shaping narratives and managing relationships, she has developed a profound understanding of the intersection between communication, interest, and public perception. In addition to her professional endeavor, Victoria is an executive member of the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, NIPR. She is the chairman, Committee of Corporate Communications and Public Affairs Experts of Nigeria Employers Consultative Association, that's NECA. She equally doubles as a vice chair, Nigeria, of ICC's Global Marketing and Advertising Commission. Victoria is recognized among Africa's top sustainability and communications professionals. Her accolades include EcoSIA Sustainability Champion of the Year, that was in 2023, Sarah Sustainability Practitioner of the Year, 2024, and recognition on sustainability at Nestle Nigeria. She is the convener of Pivot Nigeria, a thought leadership platform to transform Nigeria's perception. Ladies and gentlemen, social innovators, join us. Welcome Victoria Owadoka. You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome, ma'am. We're glad to have you, and we are privileged to have your stature in this platform. Thank you very much, ma'am. And so next on our list is Dr. Ibechiole Julius, UNOCO founder, Elohim Foundation. Dr. Ibechiole Julius is an experienced development professional with 25 years experience in program, project development, and implementation, with 15 years experience as an independent consultant. He has a wide experience in technical development and project management of community-based interventions in areas of expertise. He has over the years been an active sector player through various national and international, through which he has continued to serve at various capacities, such as the state chapter chairperson, steering committee, and technical lead. Dr. Julius has managed and provided technical assistance on several developmental projects ranging from the health, environment, agriculture, community development, and research. Funded by national and international grant-making agencies such as USAID, CDC, Global Fund, World Bank, UNDP, ActionAid International. In addition, has consulted for the UNICEF on child development and protection, provided technical assistance to Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Child Development, the Nigeria Police Force, and National Human Rights Commission on child-focused researches and programming around the health issues of children in conflict with the law and those in need of protection from child trafficking and abuse. Dr. Julius has equally provided technical support as a consultant to UNDP on transformational leadership development training workshop for line ministries and MDAs. His skills include an in-depth understanding of working in communities and rural areas in developing countries, linking policy analysis and emerging issues to plans, understanding of pro-poor and gender issues in development, policy formulation analysis, organizational, strategic, and operational planning. He has recorded several participations in both national and international conferences and training workshops on health, environment, child protection, peace, and conflict resolution, as well as social development. Ladies and gentlemen, our speaker, Dr. Julius, is a collaborative and responsive team player with effective communication skills in the English language. He is a seasoned trainer and facilitator and has experience in handling issues on economically and ethnically diverse environment, a trained human rights advocate, and of course, a social researcher. Ladies and gentlemen, social innovators, join us. Welcome Dr. Julius on this platform. Can we hear you, sir? You're welcome, sir.
Thank you so very much. I'm so elated by your expectations. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here and I look forward to an engaging session today. Thank you.
Well, thank you, sir. And so very quickly, we're going to run a product profile of our next speaker, Chigozie Bashua. Chigozie Bashua is a highly accomplished and visionary entrepreneur and business strategist with a remarkable 18 years experience in diverse emerging markets across the spectrum of information technology and telecommunications, with 9 years entrepreneurial experience. With a strong expertise in business analysis, service delivery management, business planning and strategy, Chigozie has consistently led impactful projects in those areas. Additionally, her proficiency extends to business continuity and risk assessment, where she has demonstrated exceptional acumen. Chigozie is the founder of the Nut Place, a food innovation company creating gluten-free, nutrient-dense, nut-based products that promote healthier lifestyles and sustainability. Chigozie is deeply passionate about addressing global challenges, particularly in the realm of food security and food waste. Aligned with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 2, she ardently advocates for the eradication of world hunger by 2030. Chigozie's commitment to sustainable development and entrepreneurship is further underscored by her notable affiliations. She is an esteemed alumna of the Tony Elumelu Foundation, the African Women Entrepreneurship Cooperative, AWEC, an initiative of the Center for Global Enterprise in the United States of America, AWP Network, Impact Hub Lagos, and Women Entrepreneurship for Africa, implemented by Safin of the Six Stars Group, Academy for Women Entrepreneurs, Google Hustle Academy, and a 2023 Vital Voices Grow Fellow. Additionally, she actively contributes as a volunteer mentor at the Tony Elumelu Foundation and the Lagos State Educational Trust Fund, LSETF. Chigozie has pitched her innovation on global platforms like the Swiss Impact Investment Summit in Switzerland, amongst others. Chigozie is also the chief business strategist at CB Business Hub, where she helps business owners craft strategic business plans for growth. With a background in electrical and electronics and computer engineering and certifications including ITIL, COVID 5, PRINCE 2, and ISO 22301 lead auditor, Chigozie blends her technical expertise with business acumen to drive innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, join us. Welcome Chigozie Bashua to the floor.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this. I'm looking forward to an engaging session today.
All right. So, Sazamaz, ladies and gentlemen, enthusiastic social innovators, here we are, face to face with our strong speakers who are here to deliver insightful, engaging conversations around the intersectionality between climate change and insecurity, particularly as it affects us here in Nigeria. And so, without further ado, we're going to go straight into the conversation. Permit me to share my screen. Yes, I'll hereby share my screen on, yes. Okay, so here we go. All right. Okay, so I'm sharing my screen right now so that we can get started on our conversation. Please, can we confirm if we can see the screen? Okay, all right. Okay, all right. So, our first question goes to Dr. Ibechele Julius Uchechukwu, and the sub-focus of his conversation under the bigger umbrella is this: agricultural insurance programs and climate resilient agricultural practices against climate-related losses. And so, sir, we crave your indulgence to learn more about this question in our hearts. That in what evidential ways is climate change and its attendant insecurity issues undermining the livelihoods of vulnerable people and communities in Nigeria? Over to you, sir. Do we have Dr. Yes, sir.
Yes. Once again, I want to appreciate the entire team for having me on this platform today. I am so very elated about this, and I look forward to the outcome of this impacting knowledge on all those who will key into this webinar today. Having said that, I want to go straight to the question, which says, in what evidential ways is climate change and its attendant insecurity issues undermining the livelihoods of vulnerable people and communities in Nigeria? I'd like to respond to this by just setting an example. About a few months ago, if I'm not mistaken, about 3 months ago, precisely, we had a flood that ravaged the entire city capital in Bauchi. That's the flood disaster that took place as a result of the collapse of the bridge. And one would say, oh, was it not because the bridge, the dam collapsed, and the walls of the dam collapsed, and that's why there was an outpour of a high volume of water, which supposedly ought to have been retained within the walls of the dam chambers? No. But the reality of this is that we are, as a people and as a nation, in a global stage. Globally right now, climate change is affecting not just people, but also the environment, and it's invariably impacting on the economics of societies. Now, it's important to also know that some of the challenges that we are experiencing are not in themselves immediate results of climate change. Rather, climate change has served as, will I say, a fueling agency that tend to escalate the impact of some of these challenges. We have always been there with heat, we've always been there with droughts, we've always experienced floods, but the dimension, the magnitude at which we experience flooding in this age and time, the dimension, the magnitude at which we're experiencing heat wave and every other natural and, of course, man-made disasters have become far more exceeding than we ever had known. Why? Because of climate change. So climate change has evidently impacted negatively on the households and livelihoods in that one, it tends to further limit resources. Scarce resources are now limited because at the advent of any disaster occasioned by climate change or induced by climate change, more resources are needed to combat, and those resources ought to be used ab initio for other livelihood needs. Now, climate change is also fueling the issue of insecurity because now, as a result of droughts, you see within Nigeria, the Sahel region, there is more of desertification, and then the pastorates are now moving in order to seek greener pastures towards the south. And you see this movement in itself becomes a concern for the local farmers who eventually become victims of the fact and need of these pastorates who taking their heads, the herders taking their animals to feed either deliberately or not. You see the consequential effect of such movements vesting on the local farmers. So climate change indeed has negatively impacted on the vulnerable communities in Nigeria.
Oh, well, thank you very much, John, Doctor, for calling to mind the areas the areas climate change has really impacted negatively, particularly here in Nigeria. Calling to mind the Bauchi flood, it's really significant for us to bear that in mind. And like you said, this isn't new, but the extent, the ramification of the disasters is on a very high wave, and this calls for a lot of concern. And this leads us to the next question, which is tied to the first. That these issues of climate change and insecurity, of course, it has attracted the attention of not just the national government, but the international community. So, how well would you assess the involvement of the Nigerian government? How well have they been able to leverage international support in solving these diverse climate-induced, security issues, and what more can still be done, especially in terms of agricultural insurance programs?
Is a signatory to several treaties. We have the National Climate Act, and in addition to that, the government has also set up machineries like the National Climate Council here in Abuja. But I want to start by saying that most of the treaties, the frameworks, which ought to support and promote a more resilient agriculture and security in Nigeria, tend to be at the national level. Most states seem not to either domesticate or even know about such provisions. And then that leaves so much to be desired. The burden has always been more on the federal government and as such, the federal government won't, and as usually won't be able to reach the rural communities who really need these support, as it were. Now, Nigeria needs to seek more ways to encourage its citizenry, particularly farmers in this concept, to leverage international funding support. Yes, the insurance sector in Nigeria before now had a stale face, should I describe it, where people tend not to trust the providers of insurance services. And then when you tell people to go take up insurance services, they like, wow, if I put in my money, am I sure that when I have challenges or disaster come, that they will be responsive enough to bail me out? So there is the need for a conscious need, actually, for a deliberate, not just policy, because I know we have the policy instruments, but to promote awareness and consciousness such that the Nigerian society can take advantage of provisions. At stage right now, the globe is talking about carbon credits, carbon credit financing. How many Nigerians know about carbon credits? How many farmers, the local farmers, even the mechanized farmers, how many of them know about the provisions of carbon credits? How can they be able to access such carbon credits to their own economic advantage? So the government has actually signed on treaties, belong to several other global bodies, such as GEF, the Global Environment Fund, and we have also leveraged on other international funding mechanisms. But the truth is that this is more at the national level. People in the states, people in the communities, the local farmers know nothing about these things. And that's more the reason why there be the need to bring on board more active players, the CSOs, the social entrepreneurs, who will be able to reach the grassroots and be able to raise awareness and empower people with the right knowledge needed to be able to access such provisions. Thank you.
All right. Wow. Thank you so very much, Doctor. You're mentioning carbon credit. I believe those of us who are listening, members of the audience, have been able to take hold of that. At the end of this session, we should meet with Dr. Julius to learn more about carbon credit and see how our communities, the rural areas especially, and he did mention mechanized farmers as well, how we can enable them, empower them with the information, the need to enjoy, to leverage this provision. Thank you very much, Doctor. Even as we move forward to the next speaker, our next speaker, Mrs. Victoria Owadoka Anyanuka. You're welcome, ma'am, once again.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. And your sub-focus under the umbrella theme is an exploration of smart communication strategies, grounded narratives, and cross-sector collaboration to mitigate climate-related insecurity. So, ma'am, could you please provide us a background to the local and trans-border conflicts induced by climate change in Nigeria? Perhaps we could also connect it to the second question that within the Nigerian context, with reference to proven results, what local innovative strategies can be explored by government, agriculturalists, and individuals to mitigate the impact of climate-induced security concerns on the platform of communication?
Thank you very much, Oluwabumi. And again, I'm truly delighted to have the opportunity to be here on Catalyst Now, because that speaks to making impact and making the changes that are necessary now. And listening to Dr. Julius, I think he has traced back the history or the impact of climate change on insecurity in Nigeria. Maybe not as a cause in itself, but as an amplifier or an enabler of the conflicts that already exist. And because of the subtopic that I'm speaking to, I'm going to be really focusing on communication and what we can do better when it comes to communication. Because behind every conflict, behind every incident of insecurity is fear, right? And fear is built from a lack of trust and also a lack or a gap in understanding. And that's what we need to begin to deal with. So there's so many narratives, there's so many communication, there's so many framing of what is actually happening in Nigeria. Why do we have so much insecurity? Seems to have happened all of a sudden. But if you go back to the historical antecedents of the impact of climate change on us. And, I'm just going to bring out the elephant in the room, right? What percentage of the contribution to climate change has been from Africa? Well, not so much if you look at that, but we're suffering the brunt of it. If you think about how many of our people are dependent on the environment, are dependent on farming, dependent on agriculture, really looking at the broad value chain for their livelihoods, then you begin to understand the impact that has on us as a continent, and also has on us as Nigeria, even though we're not contributing so much, or we haven't contributed so much. And I'm delighted to hear Dr. Julia speak about climate carbon credits, right? And we need a lot of education around what we can do and begin to do around it. But now coming back to what I need to speak to, smart communication strategies grounded in solid narratives based on facts, based on figures, and really trying to address people's challenges. So one thing that I like to think about a lot is Lake Chad. Growing up, there was Lake Chad. There was the pictures of Lake Chad, the communities around Lake Chad, the fishing around Lake Chad. Everything seemed to turn around Lake Chad, and then suddenly, Lake Chad seemed to fritter away, and that was happening over a long period, right? And then I begin to think about what communication was out around this? Did we try to build understanding of people around what was happening? And did we try to address the fear that people had around the fact that their source of livelihood or the environment that sustained them no longer seemed to be able to sustain them for whatever reasons? Yes, and we can look at those reasons. And I'm sure the experts in climate will speak more to that than I would. So looking at what we could have done or what we could do, or the climate smart communication solutions that we need to bring to these conversations, first of all, is to create awareness. Let people understand what's going on. Okay, let the farmer understand what's going on. Let him understand that he's not cursed by God, or it's not caused by other people alone, right? Of course, there are the issues of governance and all of that that I will not speak to in this conversation, but that's something that is very important to do because every stakeholder has a part to play. There is a part of governance. Governance could have done something better if we had good governance around these issues. We could have done better in managing the situation, in creating social nets, social safety nets that would help people to recover from these climate shocks when they happen, right? So I see the farmer, out there in his farm, and then one day he comes in the morning and his crops have been devoured, right, by whoever, whatever, and he knows, okay, yeah, these are the herders bringing cattle here, and for him, it's an act of wickedness because for him, it is a depletion of his livelihood. He doesn't understand the point of view of the person who is just looking for pasture for his cattle. The person who is looking for pasture for his cattle is not looking at the dilemma of the man or the farmer who has planted this, and that's what he has to sustain his family with. So there is a gap. There's a separation between my needs and your needs. There is a separation between my immediate need to feed the cattle and your need to feed your family. So how do we begin to build this synergy? It is built by communication through understanding and all of that. Sometimes we talk about the fact that, oh, you need to speak within the community and all of that. Some of those herders do not live within the community. They live in other communities. How do you bring them together? It is by deploying very efficient and targeted communication to the different groups and to help everyone understand why you need to think about the other person when you're thinking about your own needs. And all these are enabled by communication. So who needs to own this communication? And that's where governance comes in. Now, there's been some resistance to the autonomy of local governments, but I think that if we succeed in doing that, that is a change that is going to drive a lot of 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 positive impact in our communities because now in my local government, I know the farmers who are affected. I know the farm routes. I know where the farms are, and I can address their challenges and address their fears. And I also know the people coming into the environment, the herders coming into the environment. And I'm not just talking about the herders, of course, because we've talked about the floods and all of that. So, but I have an audience. I know who they are. I understand their concerns. I see their daily struggles with the climate change or the impact of climate change. Some direct, some indirect impacts of this climate change. So I can begin to hold conversations with them. I can also take this conversation to the local government where most of the herders who are coming in come from. I can hold this cross-sectoral cross stakeholder conversations around that and understand that we need to think about our needs and we need to think about what works. In marketing, we always talk about win-win. So when you're addressing the consumer or when you're negotiating with your customer, with your client, with your consumer, there's the win-win. So how can we begin to drive this win-win? That is by holding conversations. Now, to a large extent, we seem to shy away from the truth or from the facts of where the insecurity that we're addressing comes from. The other impact of the climate change is poverty, and poverty drives this migration. And this migration or the resource scarcity and all of that is driven in addition to other elements. Part of the impact that climate change brings is that as well. Okay, we'll look at the irregular rainfalls, right? And so when you go to plant, you're no longer able to harvest corn at the season where you harvest corn. You don't see mango in the season where you're supposed to see mangoes. What is happening? There is an intervention that needs to be made, but there's also the great impact that awareness would have. If I arm you, if I give you the information that you need and tell you what you can do about it, I'm actually preparing you for the future. And COVID is a great example of that happening to us. So each of us came into COVID and it was like, oh, what's going on? And I heard about people drinking bleach, and all kinds of things that people were trying to do. But when the information came, when we're armed with information, we're able to make better choices. We're able to prepare better. We're able to arm ourselves better. So the major thing that needs to happen is that we need to own the conversation. Sometimes we think about government alone, but this is where civil society comes in. This is where the members of Catalyst now come in. This is where all the actors come in. How can we create more awareness about the connection between climate change and insecurity? How can we arm people with information of what they need to do or how we can really begin to solve this problem at scale? That is what we need to do. And are there examples of that happening? Maybe not successfully, but there are efforts being made. There are a number of NGOs who are working in different communities to help to mitigate the challenges of climate change. I just think that we need to make a connection because we seem to be operating in silos. Everybody's doing one small thing somewhere. Some people are doing big things in some places. How do we bring all the learning from that together? We need a synergy. We need to drive a campaign, a communications campaign that is intentional, that is national, to begin to mitigate the impact of climate change. Are there any actions that we can take as individuals to actually change our behavior so that our climate outputs can be better? Yes, of course, but we need to have that information and we have to have the enabling environment. Now I want to talk about Lagos, which is where I live. So every rainy season, you know that there's going to be a flood. And you know there's going to be several floods. You know that every 2 weeks they're going to have a flood. How do we prepare ahead for these floods? Now, in between 2022 and 2023, and up to 2024, I think there were these huge floods, and it was said it was because the Cameroonians opened their dam or something. Didn't we know it was going to happen? Did we arm people with the information that they needed to take action? Did we put in a system that enabled us to engage actively with them, and then also to take the learnings back and help us see if that has had an impact or not and course correct? So really simple things that seem to be very easy to do. But remember that the government is grappling with so many challenges. As NGOs, as people who are volunteering, as corporates, we're doing a lot of stuff. So we seem to be engaged in a lot of stuff. But I think that this conversation that we're having today is super important because it brings us back to strategy and it brings us back to long-term results. So there are examples of things that have been done to enable people to transition easier and to really survive the climate or environmental shocks that they experience. I know that there is microfinancing that is available that supports climate smart solutions, but how do we know about this? We need to increase the tempo of information. We need to make more information available to our communities, to the individuals who need it most, to the most vulnerable amongst us. And this entails working through the grassroots. And I'm really looking forward to us succeeding in setting up the autonomy of the local governments, because then we can work through them. We're going to be able to make more impact at scale working in that way. And I'd like to stop now because I think that we might have an opportunity to discuss more in the next question. Thank you.
Oh, awesome, awesome, awesome. I mean, my notes are filled, and I'm sharing a quick one on the chats for others in the audience to note down. The beautiful thing about this session is that we have a lot to take home with us as action points for our enterprises. And I want to say a very big thank you to Dr. Julius and Mommy Victoria for giving us these insights, this really brilliant insights. Thank you so very much. And I would just like to mention a few: grassroots engagement, local government autonomy, driving a communications campaign that is intentional and alters behavior positively. And we do hope that we all take advantage of these insightful nuggets and put them into to work for the benefit of the most vulnerable populations amongst us. And so, very quickly, without further ado, we'd like to invite our next speaker, Ambassador Enene Fon Okang, who will be talking to us about the green businesses and job creation potential opportunities in climate change and insecurity context. So we have Ambassador Enene in our midst today. All right.
Good morning.
Wow. Okay. Oh, wow.
Sorry, let me just.
Yes. Thank you, Mal, for joining us. Yes. And so we would like to pose this all-important question to you, Ma. Challenges oftentimes present opportunities. And within the context of climate change and insecurity, what job creation and green business potential can our youths explore?
Thank you so much. My name is Ambassador Enene. You said needs. It's Ambassador Enene.
Okay.
For
all right.
Fine. So I was almost saying praise the Lord. Don't mind me. So, I want to appreciate everyone for having me here. It's quite an opportunity. I haven't listened to great minds. The profiles are intimidating. I want to welcome all the speakers, and I said I'm so honored. I feel really delighted to be here in your midst. As a change maker, as someone who is working on the street, I usually call myself a street person, and I do a lot of raw interventions in the in communities within Nigeria. And we all know that Nigeria is a hub of opportunities. So Nigeria is a hub of opportunities. So if you're asking for challenges, often the ones that present opportunities within the context of climate change and insecurity, what job creation and green business potentials can you exploit? There's this saying, it comes this way, business is all about solving problems. So Nigeria, it's a problem hub and also has numerous opportunities. And if you go through these opportunities, you see that they are all interwoven, they are linked with climate change issues or insecurity issues. First of all, let me define what green business and job creation is. So green business and job creation opportunities in climate change and insecurity context. Climate change and insecurity are interconnected issues that affect communities worldwide, and climate change, existing social, economic, and environmental tensions, while insecurity can be a result of climate-related displacement and resource scarcity and competition. So job creation and green business opportunities for youth. We all know that business is all about solving problems, and my perspective about life is different. I approach life differently. When I'm faced with life challenges, or I live in a country like my country, Nigeria, where there are problems everywhere, all I see it's countless opportunities and countless green opportunities to
I suppose we lost Ambassador NNA there. So we don't know if we have Ambassador Chigozie Bashwa. Is she on the floor?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, please, sorry. Interestingly, climate change and insecurity presents opportunities for job creation and green businesses. Some of them could be renewable energy. Like let me use my community as an example. Everybody knows we have had cases of people dying out of the result of using, this a pass my neighbor thing, families dying in dozens. So I had to personally lead a campaign on the use of solar system in the community, and we've been able to have a couple of persons build their business around it. And sustainable agriculture and agroforestry. And then there's this interesting one that hasn't really come around Nigeria. They call it ecotourism. I don't know if you've heard about it. So yes, so it's a type of tourism that focuses on exploring and appreciating natural environment. Yes, ecosystem and local cultures while promoting conservation and sustainability. It involves responsible travels to areas that conserve nature and improve the well-being of local communities. A lot of, like, we have a place called Agbokim Waterfall. So in my place in Ikom, we are generating a lot of funds there, and it's a waterfall, and the community never really knew that they could generate so much funds. Through that Agbokim Waterfall, they've been able to generate resources that are building, they are renovating a very large community school now. So some of the key principles could be another job opportunity you could get. It's on waste management and recycling. It's everywhere. 2 days ago, because I'm into street cleaning and advocacy, 3 days ago, I think yes, 3 days ago, I was just walking through my street and I saw a scavenger. I saw him beautifully dressed. We usually see them looking very tattered, but you'll be shocked that scavenging has gone professional. I saw him with a jacket, well crested, and I was like, wow, this is really big. So someone actually took up that initiative. Someone actually took up that idea to say, okay, fine, let me put together scavengers and see. I know most of them just do the scavenging. They don't consider the health hazard in it. So I know, I spoke to him. I said, I would like to meet with your boss. I don't know whether he just put you people together to sort out waste plastic. Is he considering the health hazard around it? So I'd like to partner with you to see if I could come with trainings and to talk about health hazards, to talk about other benefits you could get as a scavenger. So that's about that for the businesses that could create jobs. You could have hello.
Okay, yeah.
Hello,
yeah.
yes. Then we can also consider environmental consulting. Yeah, okay. A lot of people are we have this attitude in Nigeria where we just do bandwagon, everybody's studying accounting, and we thank God for the green entrepreneurial and green jobs and green entrepreneurial interventions coming up. It's making us to diversify. So I decided to do something on security. I'm trying to become a mediator, a consultant, where I can, because there are a lot of crises everywhere in Nigeria. So nobody is talking about bookkeeping anymore. Well, the key things now are the two things flashing on our faces are climate change and insecurity. So I'm thinking, if anyone thinks, if you're considering getting a job, a job maybe on a green job or a green entrepreneurial job, I'm thinking you should consider taking up a course on peace and conflict resolution. I'm doing that presently. I'm going to be a mediator soon, so that I can bridge the gap between communities, and I could get paid for that. A state can pay me, organizations can do that, because especially, and I could also go through organizations residing. Let's say we have cases where there are a lot of unrest in communities where they have factories and the rest. So most times the company itself don't have professionals that can help to mediate between, broadcast peace between the community and the company. So they end up not coming to them, they end up not resolving. So if you take up a course on mediating, who knows, as a professional, you'll be able to earn a lot of money from it. And environmental consulting too, you could develop expertise on that sustainability. climate change, environmental impact assessment, and even build a very strong network with NGOs as well to see how you can be known and you'll be recommended. Then you can also create a profile, showcase your work, including projects, reports, and case studies. Stay updated too. That's another way, because if you're updated, you'll be called to give to make to maybe present a training, present a paper, and you get paid. So that's my little way of how you can build businesses, green businesses, under the
Thank you very much.
Climate change and security.
Yeah, because of our time, we have to, yes, thank you very much for the insights, very deep insights shared. From all that you've said, we gleaned that climate change provides opportunity to explore environmental consulting as a career option for youth. You did mention ecological tourism as another area that could be explored by youths, amongst others. Yeah, and well done on the great job you're doing in the area of educating the scavengers on the health hazards. Yes, you rightly put it that they do not really consider the health aspect of what they're doing. As good as what they're doing is, they need to also protect themselves. Thank you for that insight shared. And very quickly, we move to Chigozie Bashwa, who will be speaking to us about integrating climate change and security issues into the Nigerian educational curriculum, the what, the how, and the why. Now we're going to combine two questions, that's 1 and 2. Awareness creation around the sustainable development goals, especially SDG 13, climate action, has been acutely on the increase following post-COVID. Could you give an objective assessment of schools' participation in promoting practical climate action among students? Do you think the current curriculum provides for the practical education of students on environmental stewardship and climate change? What can be done? And how and why should climate education and security studies be embedded in the Nigerian post-primary educational curriculum? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. People who have spoken before me have said so much, and I just want to reiterate that during COVID, everyone was more or less confused. People didn't know what to do. Some people drank salt water. A lot of things went on, that were health risk, and there were security risk. And the reason, I must say, is because they didn't have the adequate knowledge. And I will say that even after COVID, we still do not have the requisite curriculum to tackle these issues. When we talk about climate change, people are asking, some people believe there is nothing called climate change. And when we talk about food insecurity and all that, people are like, I just want to eat, because a lot of people are at the survival level. And at the same time, the schools are not even taking it serious. So one of the first things we must do is to define what sustainability is, and how these can be embedded. And I will say that currently we have things like environmental studies in our curriculum, but we do not have any topic that speaks to sustainable development. We do not have any topic that speaks to insecurity or food security and all that. So we need firstly to tackle the food the curriculum and embed food systems into our curriculum. And right now, it is said that the median age in Nigeria is 19. What it means that our classrooms have our future policymakers. Our classrooms have the future entrepreneurs, the future innovators, and they need to learn these things early. And also, our government needs to learn or educate people and also act when it comes to these things, because these are the things that fuel migration. These are the things that fuel unemployment. These are the things that fuel conflict. So I would say that right now we do not have the adequate curriculum to teach our students on what these things are. And we need to begin to do a curriculum review. So we need policymakers to do a, we need policymakers to sit with probably private sectors and entrepreneurs to do a curriculum review, embed sustainability and food systems across the subject instead of as a standalone. So we teach sciences now, but can we teach climate smart agriculture? Can we teach renewable energy? We have social studies. Can we teach more on cultural diet, on community resilience? We have home economics. Can we look at local nutrition more? And can we look at recycling when it comes to agriculture? Can we embed entrepreneurship studies that talk about circular economic concepts? You know, these are the things that we need. This is how to bring awareness to these things. This is how to improve people's knowledge on what could be done and how this climate education can happen. We also need experiential learning. Schools need to start visiting startups. I know some schools are already doing that, but we need it on a wider range. Schools need to start visiting local farms. They need, we need project-based learning. You know, people's projects should be geared towards green farming and all that. Then, of course, we need teacher capability building. You know, these teachers that teach the students, they need to learn these things. We need to embed it into their teaching programs so that they too are adequately equipped to teach the children. Then policies. It is said that a lot of things rise, a lot of the issues we have, the rise and fall on policies. So we need policymakers to look at how to make policies that will help the schools to redesign their curriculum seamlessly. We need to incentivize these sustainability courses and schools that go all out to teach about green farming. We need to incentivize it in form of awards, in form of grants for them, so that, you know, there is adequate awareness, and not just adequate awareness, there is action, you know, because we have a lot of conferences. I must say we have a lot of talk, and as we know, talk is cheap. So we need to put our money where our mouth is. And so those are the things that I think we can do to ensure that the awareness is built and we can improve our educational curriculum so that we can improve on our sustainability knowledge, and we can improve on the security issues that plague us.
Excellently delivered. Thank you very much for opening our eyes to the possibilities of our curriculum. That is the way we ought to go as a country, as a people. And this speaks to the heart of educational stakeholders, from the government to school administrators, to teachers, and even to NGOs, actors that will help to promote all that we have discussed on this platform today. Once again, thank you, Chigozie, for bringing this insights to bear in this conversation. And so I would like to give 1 minute each to our speakers. Okay, let's make it 2 minutes. Yes, 2 minutes so that we can actually express ourselves more amply. I'd like to give us 2 minutes each to talk about this very important question. Non-governmental organizations play a pivotal role in spearheading complementary intervention schemes. Can credible instances of these NGO efforts be cited? What more can still be done, especially in the ecosystem that Catalyst Now has created for every social innovator? Thank you. So in no particular order, I think we could start with Dr. Julius.
That question by saying the work of my organization currently right now in Abuja is a typical example of this. Now, Elohim Foundation focuses on environment, adaptation, that's climate change adaptation, and smart agriculture. And as a strategic approach to ensure that we just don't say it, but we do it and become a model for other civil society groups, and in promoting nature-based solutions in advancing our belief systems and that which we strongly uphold. We have gone into partnership with the FCT authority here in Abuja, and we're currently into developing an agroforest park, first of its kind in Abuja, and probably first of its kind in Nigeria. And this is targeted towards degraded land restoration. It is targeted at community empowerment and livelihood support. It is also targeted at urban renewal towards creating more aesthetic value for this region where this project is sited, and also drive more income, both for the community people, the government, and for us as an NGO. So for sure, NGOs can be the drive and sit on the driving seat to model this partnership. So Elohim is doing this in Abuja, and incidentally, by this weekend, we will be taking a trip down to Imo State to also initiate discussions with the government of Imo State through two communities that have indicated interest to have this done in their communities. So NGOs can do this, and there are several other NGOs in this same sector who have the capacity. But one common thing that we all need to know is the fact that the NGOs, as much as they are willing and can be a driving force, there is a need to have acceptance with statutory duty bearers, government, because whatever we do as NGOs, as social entrepreneurs, if we do not have the connect with government, we tend not to be able to support at scale what we ought to be doing. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so very much, Doctor. And so now we move to Victoria. Ma'am, are you on the call? Okay, oh, hi. Okay, I think
Yes, I
Doctor
am.
has spoken. Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am. Please.
Yes,
go
I
ahead.
am. And thank you, Dr. Julius. Really interesting to see all that you're doing. So, I mean, as you all know, I do not work for an NGO right now, but we work together with NGOs and other civil society organizations. You know, for the past couple of years, I think actually about 3 years now, we've been working on, you know, really replenishing the environment, or, you know, really helping our stakeholders, especially those who are within our value chain from farm to fork, to really embed sustainability as, you know, core and central to their business. Part of our activities is generative agriculture, where we're really going back to the basics. And it's amazing to see how that ties back to what our forefathers, our parents used to do in the farms, you know, that we left behind when we commercialized agriculture. But now, you know, we're looking at ways that we can do that at scale. Because when we begin to practice these systems, it helps us, you know, to really embed those practices, drip agriculture, you know, non-till agriculture and all of that, that protects the land and also helps us to kind of, you know, attract and trap water within the lands. Okay, that helps to restore parched lands and all of that. So these practices are super important. But more important than that is the awareness that needs to be created so that we can deploy this at scale. Currently, we're working with about 30,000 farmers within our value chain, right? And these are working through the aggregators that are part of the system, and we've seen the impact of that. Now, the part that we can do more of, you know, as that's embedded in your question, is that we can create more awareness, right? I noticed that most of the time when we work with NGOs, yes, they have a very rigorous data gathering, reporting system, but this information doesn't go out to the public. I think that we need to find a way to make that more available to the public, what more needs to be done? We need to create more awareness. We need to scale better when it comes to information, because we need as many people as possible, not just those who are involved in the program, to understand these practices and to begin to implement them in their day-to-day life. We also have projects around water regeneration, simple practices that we can do, to really retain water within our environment, protect our waterbed, and also ensure that we have access to clean water without depleting the aquifer. So to do that, we're actually driving a nationwide campaign around water quality and what to look out for. So I think that, driving more of these campaigns at scale, increasing access to this information, increasing the ability of families to really adopt these new practices. I think that will go a long way to help. I think Doctor has also mentioned the importance of, working with government. Sometimes that's challenging, but you need them. And maybe you don't need them to help you implement or to help you store, but they're actually a source of information, and they help ensure that you have the policy environment to enable you drive at scale. So I think these are the few things that we can add to the work that we're doing as NGOs. Really create a budget or create a system that supports you. Social media is free for all, almost free. So we can leverage more of that to create impact at scale. And, if there's anyone on this call today and you're doing something great and you're thinking of amplifying it, please reach out to me privately and we can see what we can do to amplify that even at a greater scale. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you very much, Ma, for this invitation to all the social innovators present on this platform right now. And I do hope that we're going to leverage this opportunity extended to us by our speaker, Victoria Anyanuka. And so very quickly, we move on to take the contributions of NNA and afterwards Chigozie. Over to you.
Okay, anyone speaking now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you once more. I like to collaborate with you sincerely. I would like to amplify what I'm doing in the state. Ebonyi State is so dirty. Ebonyi is dirty. Cross River State, that used to be the cleanest, is so dirty. I'm so passionate about clean and healthy environment, to the point that each time I make a post on the social media, the government interprets it differently. So I discovered that the government is not only responsible to ensure that Ebonyi State is clean. So I decided to launch a program called Stop the Blame Game. I'd like to amplify that with your support. And I noticed that the state is prioritizing something else. Like, I'm trying to see how I could do a fundraising for garbage trucks. It's running in millions, but I know if I do a GoFundMe and I talk about the problems, the challenges we're having here, and I give you pictorial situations and video clips of the present state of Ebonyi State and Cross River State, GoFundMe the resources will be made available in less than 72 hours. We need to declare Ebonyi State and Cross River State a state of emergency. The place is dirty. So what should we do differently in this behavioral change campaigns? That's why I'm talking to the residents of Ebonyi State. I'm letting them know that the government is not only responsible to keep the environment clean, we can sustain it, like by the pure water on the floor. Governor Wifuri is not the one that drank and dropped it there. So we're going to be leading a campaign on that. So the danger of improper waste disposal, the proper bagging. We talked about bagging, sorting, and disposal, because we are really emphasizing on climate change. Then we have this regular community cleanup mobilization program we're doing. We're encouraging composting of organic waste for use in urban communities and backyard farms. We are also seeking collaborations with the government. That's what we're doing, because presently we don't understand what's happening with Ministry of Environment and all of that. And it looks like the cleaning part of our state, it's given to politicians. And when when it's given to a politician, everybody's looking at what they will gain. They're not attacking the subject matter. And I've been trying to see how I could seek collaborations. Then also another way, what should be done more, it's early warning signs. Planning to see how we could establish community-based early warning signs group, where we could educate them on early warning signs when it has to do with climate change issues. They need to know, because locally, I'm sure if you tell them this is what will happen, if you notice this, today. Maybe, for example, windstorm, this is what you should do. Children shouldn't go to school when there's thunder, because most times we used to have this local weather forecast. They have it here at the local level. So we could try to see how we could intensify it and talk about we are going to what we can do differently. Again, could be on environmental sanitation, flood prevention. A lot of communities are being flooded because their gutters are filled up, and they tend not to know what to do. They don't even know that they are the reason these gutters are filled up. They lack understanding, they lack direction. So we're going to increase in our campaigns to ensure that these things are done. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you so very much, Nene, for bringing so much passion into this conversation as well. Passion for a safer Ebonyi, for a safer Nigeria, for a safer rivers. Very quickly, we would like to get the input of Chigozie.
Okay, so while I do not work with NGOs at the moment, however, I would like to cite there are some initiatives that have been from certain NGOs, like the Clean Our World project by the Orlando Foundation, where they train thousands of school children on sustainable practices and environmental education. There's also the STEM Garden initiative, where students are encouraged to have a backyard garden and set up school gardens as their living labs, and teachers are trained agricultural practices. And also there is the Print Rights Foundation for Sustainable Environment and Education, which is based in Abuja. And they are all about sensitizing students on climate change and sustainable systems. So what could be done more? I will say that policymakers need to fund pilot programs that will connect schools to sustainable projects, and as well as prioritize sustainability education in curriculum reviews. And also we need to develop guides and textbooks that can speak to these issues that connect climate change to entrepreneurship, to nutrition, and also update our current subjects, update the science and technology subjects, update home economics and then agricultural science. These are some of the things that we can do. On the final note, I would like to say that the future of food security will not be decided on the farms alone. The future of our knowledge on climate change will not be decided only outside on the farms and all that. It will also be decided in classrooms. So the earlier we get these topics into classrooms, the better for us and the better for the future. Thank you.
Very well said. Very well said. Each of our speakers deserve accolades. They deserve gallants to be won on their necks for these insightful, brilliant, contributions that they have added to us. We are richer than when we joined. We have better understanding that insecurity is not just about blows and guns, it goes deeper than that. And so when we bring together all that we have learned, from carbon credit, communication strategies, to curriculum reviews, and all that we have learned today, I believe most strongly that we'll be on our way to building a safer Nigeria for all well before 2030. And the journey begins now. In the words of Victoria Wadoka, there is need for us to amplify. Let's amplify, which means we've been doing something, but there is need for us to scale more meaningfully, more intentionally, in order for us to achieve a win-to-win security for every Nigerian. So thank you very much to our awesome speakers. You are wonderful. Your contributions are valid. They have added to us. And we open the floor to members of the audience to say a thing or two, either directly to our speakers or as an independent contribution in order to move this conversation further. Yes, we have a hand raised. Please, can you unmute? Neighborhood Foundation. Neighborhood Foundation, please, could you? Okay, fine. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Dr. Kelechukwu Kezi. I'm the Executive Director of Neighborhood Environment World Foundation. I want to sincerely thank the panelists for the passion and the exposition they have given to this conversation. I want to thank you, Julius, and your team. If I get it right, the topic is the intersectionality between climate change and insecurity in Nigeria. And I wanted that to come out clearer and more forceful. And perhaps give us your own ideas towards addressing climate-induced insecurity in Nigeria. No doubt, climate change impacts have driven a lot of insecurity. You have the header farmers conflict. We have a lot of flooding that have displaced a lot of persons. And we have high rate of mortality as a result of climate change. What are expected of the government to do from their own perspective as social actors to address this insecurity, this climate changing impact? And also, do you have any model that you can suggest to your listeners here that could also be essential, that could help in addressing issues of climate insecurity? Because it's widespread. It's there in all parts of the country. And these are things that are begging for attention. And as you have all rightly stated, the government is not really committed to addressing issues of climate crisis. They have their policies that are just there on purpose, but then the political will to address this is not there. So from the civil society and from the private sector, whatever group, what are your thoughts on this? How can we begin to address issues of climate change insecurity, climate change and insecurity in Nigeria? Thank you very much.
Hello. Hello, moderator.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yes, I do not know if time will permit us to further speak on the concern that Dr. Kelechi had raised. If
please
you permit.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. You know, the fact that we had subtopics to speak to seemed to have taken away the focus from the concern for security and climate change, as it were. However, having been reminded by Dr. Kelechi that we want to see models or adaptive approaches that, rather than stem the tide of conflict, will rather build on peace bridges to ensure the gradual but eventual elimination of conflicts, particularly as it relates with climate change induced conflicts. Now, I would want to say that indeed, conflicts will always be there. Just like, if you permit me go a little religious, Christ said, the poor will always be there. So conflict will always be there. But then why is it of a concern to us that we ensure that climate change does not continue to fuel crisis? Because indeed, the factors that are in itself agents of climate change are man-made. In Nigeria today, we have had several clashes. If you look at the Middle Belt, Benue State, Plateau State, and even Niger State, where I also have presence, you would recall that we have had several conflicts arising from herders against farmers as a result of migration, and then the basic connotation behind all of these is that it is either religiously in tune or it is as a result of the works of terrorists. But the silent truth about it is that 60 to 70% of these conflicts are actually climate-induced conflicts, because the herder wants to see his own business flourish. He doesn't want to see the his cattle high, and so he wants to move from the place that is less greener to the greener region. The farmer also wants his business or her business flourish, wants to grow. She or he wants to see plants and then at the same time harvest the plants. But we need to strike a balance. And that's where the need to adapt climate smart, nature-based farming approaches. In this age and time, the national discourse had been over months now and years. What should the government do with regards to the cattle ranching and all of that? Now, I don't want to escalate this beyond, so that it doesn't sound one is being either biased or speaking from a political viewpoint, but there are internationally adopted approaches in other clients, in other countries that have so proven useful to mitigating and abating a conflict-induced crisis, which Nigeria can adopt, one of which is the agro-forest approach, and of course, the ranching. But to get this on board, there need to be a consciousness, and there also need to be a willingness by the government, which is the key sector that can drive such level of intervention. That's just my summary. Thank you so much.
Dr. for the incisive perspective you have brought to give a more robust response to this question. But let me put it this way: if anybody amongst our speakers wishes to go deeper into the issue of climate change and its intersectionality with insecurity from perspectives that have not been dealt with, we could generously give about two minutes to any interested speaker to latch on and give our audience a deeper perspective about the intersectionality. In the meantime, permit me to invite Panan Henry. Panan Henry, you're going to share your question or contribution. Afterwards, Mohammed will be given the opportunity to take the virtual floor. Over to you, Panan Henry. Can you unmute, please?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much. Thank you very much, everyone. Our wonderful facilitators. It is very, very insightful, and I've really gained a lot. Sorry, so my question is, because I'm in the north, and so most of the issues of insecurity, we are dealing with issues of terrorism, and there's like a certain chain, or should I say chain, that happens. Mostly, these terrorists always try to hide in green areas, like in green zones, for example, like in Kaduna, from Kaduna to Jigawa, I discovered that most of them, like the forest that is there, they try to hide there. And then also the forest that is in Jos, from Jos to Abuja, if you've been there, you discover that most of the, the green areas are being cleared in order to, give more visibility to the security agents. And the same thing is being done in Bauchi State, where you have green areas, and then you have terrorists that are hiding there, and then they are now being targeted. And most of the trees, even the community people no longer want them because they feel like these green areas harbor criminals. So how can we, as a country, also maybe with the use of technology, with the use of security agencies, how can we ensure that these green areas do not continue to be hideouts for criminals? Because the local communities, the only thing they care about is just their safety. So anything that that seems like it is encouraging a hideout of criminality, they usually don't want it, and they mostly we like working there. So how can we ensure that these green areas are no longer hideout to criminals? Thank you very much.
John, okay. Ma Victoria, please, are you available to take this sub question? And then, okay, ma'am.
Okay, so that's a paradox, right? Do we deplete the green areas because we want to address insecurity? And as we're depleting the green areas, is that helping us to check insecurity? So that's a paradox. I am sure that those in charge of security, the armed forces, the um, government and all of that have other ways of checking this. I mean, today we have technology. We have technology that can help us see where these people are. There's radar, there's so many things that we have at our disposal that we should be able to use. And I hear some of the announcements that are going out about the government, really retooling to be able to fight terrorism. But do we need to preserve our green areas? Yes, we do. Dr. Julia spoke about carbon credits. Well, that is a thing in Africa because we have the forest and we have the trees. And if we begin to deplete them because of insecurity, how far will we go? Do we remove all the forests that are available in Nigeria? But I think that as we begin to intervene in certain ways through holding dialogues, through ensuring that there are safety nets, social safety nets for those who are, really um, challenged by the means of livelihoods, because some of these are drivers. So poverty is a driver, climate change is a driver, depletion of trust is a driver. Bad governance is a driver. So there's so many things that are drivers of the insecurity. And I think that as we begin to address these issues, then it makes it more difficult for the terrorists to even recruit young ones who are easily recruited because they don't see any option, they don't see any future. If we do not provide a future for our young ones, what do we want them to do? Where do we want to go? And if we look at the way that our population is growing and projected to grow in the next 5 years, we need to project our development in line with that, or else we're going to continue to have these situations with us. As Dr. Julius said earlier, the poor will always be amongst you. But I mean, there's a way to take care of the poor. There's also something that is happening because when we think about sustainability, we're not looking at our social sustainability as Africans, as Nigerians. We actually have a social system that provided the protection that, made it, a novelty for us to have terrorism and crime and all of that. And that's the social network that we have, that if one of us has a job, we feed 20 amongst us, we take care of each other. Are we beginning to lose that social system that is a part of our sustainability? So there is a lot to talk about and there's a lot to look at. I think that it is super important to preserve our green areas. It is very, very important. Going into the future is important, not just for the sake of, aesthetics, but our livelihood depends on it. If you come into Lagos and you go into Lagos Island and Victoria Island and all those, when you go to the wooded areas, it is a different environment. I served in Sokoto, and I remember walking across the sand fields, to go to the home of the students that I was coaching, during that time. And it was a terrible experience compared to the areas where we have the trees and all of that. So do we need our green areas? Yes. And there's also an economic benefit that is coming as we begin to understand more about carbon credits and how to leverage that. So we need to protect our green areas, and we need to begin to explore other ways of managing the crisis that we have when it comes to terrorists and bandits who hide away in those green areas. I hope that begins to answer. Thank you.
I do hope now your question has been extensively given more illumination as needed. For me, this question has been answered extensively. Thank you very much, Ma. We have the opportunity of taking one more question. Just one more question. We can direct our other questions or contributions to the platform or directly to any of our speakers. Graciously, their email addresses, their contact have been shared on the chat in the chat box here. So please, we want to crave our indulgence because of time. We are way behind schedule. So we're going to take Mohammed's question. Afterwards, we take the vote of thanks and call it a day until we meet again. So Mohammed, can you please unmute and ask your question? Mohammed, are you on call?
Yes, thank you very much. Confirm you can hear me, please.
All right. Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much to the speakers. And you guys have really touched quite a lot. And then there are so many things that have been said here. But for me, I wouldn't call it a question. I'll just give a perspective of where I have been and then how I see the intersectionality between insecurity and then climate as they, uh, get get together to cause a lot of havoc. I stay in the north. I work in the north, and I implement programs that have to do with dairy development in Nigeria. Um, I think I like the perspective of Dr. Julius and then our last speaker, Madam Victoria. You brought two things together that would drive the problems of insecurity together with climate, and the so many little things that contribute to the insecurity. Dr. Julius made mention of the bottom line or how the insecurity issue starts. Let me
Mohammed, are
set
you still
example.
there?
Can you hear me, please?
Okay, is Mohammed
Yes,
there?
he's speaking and I can hear him.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mohammed, for.
Hello?
Yes, we're here.
Okay. So what I'm saying is
Yes.
this: Dr. Julius
Yeah,
made
yeah, yeah.
mention of it started an example of Fulani man that want to always have food available for his animals. Now, I thought localizing the solutions will have helped us a lot because I know the issue of ranching came with a lot of political tussles, but it will have been the best solution. But there are a lot of politics around it. And if the northern governors are really intentional about it, they can really create a ranch, like what Kaduna State government is trying to do now, even though it has been on paper for more than 5 years now. But now they are really actualizing it, and then they are really trying to implement really a proper grazing reserve in Damau. That's very close to Allah Foods dairy households in Kubau local government. But where I'm going is this: a project I work on, or I'm currently working on, advancing local dairy development, have a strategy of the solution, localizing solution, localizing the solution of this issue of migration of smallholder dairy farmers to states where there is a lot of insecurity. Example, in part of the components of the project, we have an intervention that has to do with fodder production. The fodder production is so localized that farmers were arranged into small groups. We call them self-help groups, group of 15 to 20 farmers. They contribute a small land, maybe a hectare of land. Then we give them inputs of maybe bracharia is a perennial grass that add a lot of that is highly nutritious, and then it helps them the animals. It helps their animals to get a lot of nutrients and have a lot of milk for them to sell. So now we felt that they having access to feed stops them from migrating. And if they stop migrating, their animals have a lot of milk they can get and sell to a processing company, because part of what we do was link these dairy farmers to processors. dairy processors. You milk your cow, processors will come to your doorstep and pick up the milk, meaning you don't need to migrate from where you are. Your 1 hectare of land, the grasses you have there, if you look after it, you can harvest it and have at least 1,000 bales of hay that you can give your animals to eat. So the issue of migration to, let's say, Benue State, Plateau State, because these are hot spots where there is a lot of farmer-herder clashes. Now, the insecurity issues drops down drastically if we look at the numbers properly and if we are really holistic about it. Yes, there are political, there are political sentiment around it that Fulani are the part of who are causing havoc and all that. It's more of a retaliatory attack every now and then because this Fulani man came to my farm, he ate my crop, I killed this cow, he came back, he killed he took one of my property or burned down my property, I come back for reprisal. That is what has been happening in Plateau, Benue, even in some part of Northeast. We've seen that because we work in Taraba, Adamawa, Bauchi, Plateau, Kaduna, Kano State, and Jigawa State. We've seen the way this thing happened and we understood the real thing there. Now, where I'm going is this. We try to take care of the problem of migration through provision of feed at the local level. We try to localize the situation. Now, if you see any of the farmers we are working with migrate to another place in the name of looking for feed, that is a troublemaker. Although there are traditions that Fulani tradition that says they have to migrate every now and then. But the bottom line of migration is they felt there is no space for grazing during the raining season when everybody was farming, when everybody is farming rather. So they had to move away from the farm areas to avoid conflict to another areas. But there is no way a cow will pass through a farm and not touch the farm. So I felt this strategy of localizing solutions, particularly around feed provision, in which governments are saying they want to, key into it. If they truly do it, and maybe there will be a lot of solutions to this, it takes care of the insecurity. Then where the climate issues come in now, and at the same time the insurance comes in is this: there is no awareness, or the communication is not localized to smallholder dairy farmers in where I work now. There is no enough information about insurance of their fodder crop or fodder farms. Because yes, every now and even between themselves, they have issues. This person came to graze in my farm. There is conflict internally and all that. But if there is enough awareness, a localized style of communication to the farmers, they are aware that okay, if my farm has a problem, I have insurance that covers for me. I don't have any problem. Then it will go a long way in solving this crisis. I think I'll stop here because it's a lot of things we're doing in this regard, and then there's a lot of impact. And many thanks to the speakers. I will stop here, but I would really like to take this up maybe further, maybe in our next uh, uh, conversations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mohammed. We could keep talking about this. There is a lot to share, from carbon credits to ecotourism, from environmental consulting to win-win and proactive communication strategies, from experiential learning to teacher capacity building policy, generative agriculture, and localizing solutions. We have been empowered with the information and strategies that have enabled our deeper weaponry against fear-induced security issues caused by climate change. What remains most importantly for us as environmental enthusiasts and protectionists is to take actionable steps that are data-driven, collaborative in approach, using transparent communication so that we can move from having conversations to having tangible results, from insecurity to security for all. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of today's conversation about the intersectionality between climate change and insecurities. And so on this note, permits me to invite our co-chair to give the vote of thanks. Our co-chair is none other than Dr. Okezie Kelechukwu. Over to you, sir. Is our co-chair here?
Yes, yes, sorry, I'm here.
All right.
Thank you. Let me start by thanking the organizers, Catalyst Now, for putting up this very incisive week for us to get knowledge on different perspectives. I really want to appreciate you all. And let me also thank Bumi, who has moderated effectively this section. Your voice is sonoric, and you really added feeling to our conversation.
Thank you, sir.
Not in the least are my esteemed panelists. You have been very, very wonderful. We've gained a lot of insights from your rich repositories of knowledge. And I know that each person living here has gained one or two things that will really help to addressing some of the climate-induced challenges in our communities and in our state. So I really appreciate us and believe that all those that joined, there are other very key sections in the Catalyzing Change Week. I know you have registered in many of these sessions, and we hope to see you in other sessions. Please register and invite others. It started yesterday, and it's ending, I think, on Friday. So let us ensure that we join most of the sessions, including the one that will be coming up by 2 p.m. today, looking at the climate crisis and other issues. So I want to thank all of you for these wonderful sessions. And of course, I have transited from being the Nigerian co-chair to being the Africa co-chair. So ordinarily, I would have wished that the Nigerian co-chairs are here to give this closing remarks. But then I'm really excited that Nigeria participated, and they are really wonderful. And thank you, Bumi. Thank you for that wonderful moderation. And of course, the Nigerian chapter coordinator, Chinelo, you've all been wonderful. Thank you for this opportunity, and let's continue to meet again.
All right. I'm very happy to thank you to African co-chair, Dr. Kelechukwu, for the vote of thanks. Want to invite Dr. Brian, the Nigerian co-chair, I suppose, yes, to wrap it up. And on yes.
Bumi, please, we need to take a group photograph.
Oh, that is true.
yes, please help me and do that. Please
okay,
do.
Okay, you do.
Henry, just get a clear image of this section, please. Everybody should put on their videos. Thank you.
Okay.
Bumi, are you doing that?
No, I suppose you should do that. Maybe you should do that. I'm trying to, yeah.
Yeah, from my end, I can't unlock my phone, and I don't know how to screenshot with this laptop. I'm using a laptop.
Okay. Our apologies